Cyclone Sundays with Ben Bruns, powered by Kelderman Manufacturing. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
Welcome in, Cyclone Sunday, presented by Kelderman Manufacturing from the Channel Seed Studios. I'm Aiden Wyatt, as always, joined by my man, Ben Bruns. How we feeling?
Really good, really good. My voice is a little out, but that's okay, right? I mean, it was what a great day at Jack Trice, or what a great night at Jack Trice last night. Phenomenal environment. For me, and you'll notice I went with a little different name this morning. Coach McCarney was back for this game, and he spoke to the team before the game, I'm told, and he spoke to him obviously after. We saw some video of that. Mm-hmm. And what I heard about what he said pregame was he just had him fired up to the rafters, right? This whole thing for me started with him and many of us, right? And to see the relationship that he and Matt have these days is super, super cool. But this is exactly what we're talking about last week and a couple weeks ago. Everybody, you get on message boards and stuff, and people are saying things about us not being more negative on this program. Look, this football team, from week one, we could tell we were going to have a football team. We didn't know how good they were going to be, but we know that it was a different kind of year than we had in the past, at least last year. This team to me feels a lot like Campbell's second year, and those things go in cycles, right? You don't know how good you can be until your guys have some time to play. And you got a freshman starting at right guard, a true freshman, and he's not perfect yet, but man, Brandon Black is playing some football, and Iowa State's offensive line is improving dramatically. And we saw it, in last week's game. I tweeted in the first quarter, I'm like, I don't know what else happens in the rest of this game, but Iowa State's offensive line is taking a huge step forward. And that's absolutely true. And, they're in their zone game. They're doing a much better job of fitting into blocks and then climbing up to the second level, securing the down guys first. There were a couple missed assignments in the game, but it's like, look, we got inexperienced guys in a lot of spots, right? I mean, our center is a sophomore, right? It's not. These are things that are going to happen when you have younger guys playing. But you want to talk about physical and playing to the whistle? How many plays, Aiden, in that game did we see guys just flying around after the play, like going out of bounds, but still decleating somebody at the end of the play, like as the whistle's, to the ring of the whistle, right? And Ryan Clanton talks about that all the time. And, it's such an important part of the game because it totally affects the defense and their mentality when you are in them like that the whole day. And I just think, TCU's answer in a lot of ways was to bring the safeties down into the box and or at least have them coming up to support the run really fast. Well, what happens when your safeties are supporting run really fast? Number one, you can get beat on play action. Iowa State was great with seam routes to the tight ends. Steve O'Klotz about fell down on one of them and maintained his balance, got up, stayed up, mm-hmm. and Rocco hits him in stride. Bremer with another one that was really key late in the game in the second half. And then Iowa State is running some quarterback counter back to the backside. We're pulling a tight end to secure the backside edge, like Bremer did on the long Sama run. And if the safety misses, you're off to the races. But Iowa State has made some adjustments about how we block these schemes, and we've made some adjustments with personnel, and we've grown, from a player development perspective, right? In a short amount of time. And it's not flashy. It's not the sexiest thing you ever saw, but to go 3 and out the first series of the game and the first series of the second half is frustrating, right? That's going to get you beat against a team that doesn't turn it over. But to not be shaken by that, not be rattled, the defense comes back out and makes some plays, and Iowa State gets the ball back and goes and punishes them.
So I think we're almost, I don't know how to say this. Rocco Beck is playing incredibly well right now. And he's 16. Well, I mean, aside from some garbage time last year, 6 games in, and it's already like, yeah, he's our guy.
It is pretty awesome. And I love what the staff is doing. He's got good command of things. Let's go to that 4th down play, right? 4th and 2. Everybody's a little edgy in the stadium because we called a timeout before it. It can be super easy when you have something like that where you come out and you're just not in sync the way you need to be out of a timeout, right? You've got a drive going, everything's going well. You got the defense on their heels. Now all of a sudden you take a timeout. Iowa State was going to maybe try to draw them off sides, maybe think about the kick. But number one, you got to get the conversion, or you got to get some points somehow, right? And so I don't care how many timeouts you use, as long as you got them, you make sure you get points. So Iowa State did that, by stopping the clock, getting themselves set. But then, Rocco's going to his last spot with that. And, what a great play to the captain, Easton Dean, on the left side, and you scramble and get that thing picked up. A couple good runs after that. And then, you convert with a touchdown throw to Dean. So, that's not easy to be able to try and decipher everything that's going on over on the right-hand side of that play, which is where he started with it. And then, you come back to the left, your safety valve, and sure enough, he's there. And you know why he's there? He's there because Iowa State's been putting pressure on the front side of the defense all day with the running game and with the passing game. And that backside edge gets open, right? And so smart to have a concept where we're slipping somebody out of the backside of that, right? So there is that backside threat. And now everybody who watches Iowa State's film has to understand we're not going to do a half roll into, the open side of the field. We're going to throw back to the boundary if we have to, and get first downs. And, that's a good job by Shieldhouse and a good job by Rocco. But, I'll give you another example, Aiden. And it took me back 20 years. The speed option we ran for the first touchdown. We hadn't shown that look, to my recollection, maybe once this year, maybe. But it's a great goal line play. It's a great short yardage play because, the edge has to try and defend you vertically up the field to keep you from getting that short yardage that you need. And as soon as they commit to coming up the field at the quarterback, man, you flip it out there on a perfect little pitch. You never want the quarterback to keep it anyway. At least we didn't want Sage to keep it. I can tell you that. Sorry, Sage. We wanted to get it to Ennis Haywood, so you get it to your running back who knows what he's doing and has got a little wheels, and you get a touchdown. It's good stuff.
So let's talk. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but Iowa State established the run last night. Sets up complementary football. I think Iowa State averaged something like 7.5 yards a carry before Rocco Beck took 2 knees, but and even if you take away Sama's big run, I think they were still right around 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Take me through kind of what that means for an offense.
Well, I think a number of things, and I was listening to the Cyclone Reaction show. Chris Williams made a great point, and that is that the tight ends have really improved their blocking this season. And I would say that position was really a liability the first few games of the year. When you just miss regularly, at the point of attack or on the backside, even, it's not going to be good. And, that was certainly true up and down the line, including, a couple spots in the interior. And now, Iowa State may make a mistake somewhere up front, but guys are covered up. and they're getting movement on guys. And so, the backs can be so much more definitive with the ball when you start getting in that situation. I think these running backs are doing a nice job of pressing the line of scrimmage, right? We talked about that a couple weeks ago. You've got to try and stretch that defense a little bit wider than we had been doing, and then you can go vertical. And so by defining the backside edge better, generally speaking, Iowa State's bringing a tight end across the formation, right, and pinning that backside edge. And then guys, fitting together in the run game, butt to butt in those double teams and really working on the down guys first, and then doing a nice job of coming off on the linebackers. It's the safety who has to make the play. And now the keys to the castle are there. When the safety has to make the play, you are going to be able to dominate a defense because, and it may be like death by 1,000 cuts, but you're going to hit that big play eventually, right? We used to hate teams that would gamble all the time and be down in the box all the time because, it can be pretty frustrating. You can have a bunch of minus yards plays, but you knew you're going to pop a couple big ones. And I think the really impressive thing of Saturday was Iowa State, number one, didn't have a bunch of minus yards plays. TCU was still pressing up, with those safeties trying to take the run game away. And Iowa State was able to get good production, just in normal down and distance in the run game, 5-yard run. It's like, we'll take that every day. In the goal line, 2-3 yards. Yes, all day. So, and then you were able to hit, those seams over the top. I mean, number two, the safety was just having to try and cover tight ends up the middle all the time. And, we got multiple guys out there getting perfectly thrown balls. That is a hard throw, right? Right up the middle. You got linebackers underneath. You got people everywhere. And you're going to put it on a guy, who's going full speed up the seam. That is not an easy play. This Iowa State offensive line has protected really, really well the last few weeks. And Rocco's done a great job of punishing people with the play action game, which then just lets the run game be that much better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. Iowa State, 4 interceptions. I think it was the first time since something like 2005 since Iowa State had 4 interceptions against a Big 12 opponent. They still gave up almost 400 yards total offense. But
Yep.
I think it was, in a way, a get-right game for Iowa State. What do you think?
I really do. And, we talked about what would John Heacock do differently? Because we all knew that he would do something differently, right? He certainly, he couldn't have been happy about last week. So a couple observations. Number one, Malik Verdon being back is a big, big deal. He is that guy who can help erase stuff underneath. But number two, when Iowa State went into its pass rush package, Zach Lovett came in, number 0, sophomore linebacker out of Florida. And his job was to spy the quarterback. And he had free license to rush the quarterback once he understood that, the contained lanes were starting to break out, right? So, you got three defensive linemen rushing. It was not like he was on a delayed blitz. That was not what he was doing. He was spying the quarterback 100%. And if there's a chance that quarterback's about to run or that gap is getting big enough that we no longer have contain, he's going to get upfield and he's going to contain the quarterback and force him back into the middle of the field. Both of the times he came up, he almost got a sack the first time he did it. And they ended up converting on a long throw, which was pretty frustrating for everybody. A great play by the QB. But the second time he did it, he did get the sack. But both times he was on the outside shoulder pad of the quarterback as he got up the field. And everybody's, you could say, well, why are you in that position? Why aren't you squaring him up to make a tackle? He is squaring him up to force him back inside where help is. And this is intentional. This is well coached. This is part of a scheme. And you're going to see it from Iowa State the rest of the year because Iowa State had been abysmal at sealing up quarterback scramble, over the course of the year. And really at times, even before that, right? I mean, there've been times in past seasons where we let a quarterback run in critical situations. So I love it. I think it's a great play, a great adjustment. And, at the linebacker level, Iowa State still, is trying to grow up. Gary Vaughn is one of those guys who can step in there and erase plays quickly. But the other guys just, aren't as experienced as they need to be right now. But I thought the secondary did a much better job of forcing the issue in the run game. I think Iowa State's going to go back and say, we got to tackle better. Right. They're still going to say that because there's still opportunity to do that better, but huge step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Let's look ahead. Iowa State has Cincinnati next week. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel good. I think it's going to be a great environment. It won't be Jack Trice on Saturday night, but I think it's going to be something that is different. And I think in that respect is going to really help the team, especially coming out of a week like this where there's a lot of confidence boosting that happened. You're playing against the runner-up in BCS national championship game, right? So, TCU is not that team this year, but Iowa State, made them make mistakes. I think I'm not exactly sure how good Cincinnati is, right? We've kind of seen them in a similar situation where, transition of coaches, a bunch of great players graduate, but a proud program that understands how to win and, is trying to forge their own identity in the Big 12. And so I'll tell you this, you can go anywhere with an offensive line that can play ball. And, I don't want to overstep where we are right now, but I will say that Iowa State is in a much, much, much better place than we were, before the season started. And you got to give Ryan Clanton a ton of credit for the adjustments that these guys have made. And, I can just tell you as an offensive line guy, Iowa State is going to have an offensive line in the coming years under Matt Campbell and this coaching staff that is an absolute benefit to this football team and is part of the hallmark of how we do what we do. And, I haven't been able to say that for 6 years. It's not to say that there weren't good lines. It's not to say there weren't good guys, but I just think, I think the evolution of this is going to be eventually dominant O-line play. I'm seeing, the right kinds of technical aspects to put guys in the right spots. I'm seeing the right mentality, the right body position. When you do all those things, success will come, and then success breeds success. And, I can't tell you how many times I've had former teammates, lament, why aren't we better at this? Gosh, we should be, what are we doing? Like, we gotta get there. And what I've seen this season, I've seen us grow into all the things that, Steve Loney coached offensive lines back in the day, that were blocking for Troy Davis for 2,000 yards. And his brother and NSA Wood, that multiple 1,000-yard rushers. These are the things that we saw, and you think about some of the great running backs Iowa State's had under Matt Campbell, and some of the great offensive linemen that Iowa State's had under Matt Campbell. But consistently dominant offensive line play has not been part of our equation yet. And, when it is, holy cow, right? That will be how we can compete in the NIL era, is by consistently dominant offensive line play. And, it takes more than that, right? Because TCU put a great offensive line out on the field yesterday. But I just am really excited about where this thing is headed. And you know, if you're not, you're not looking at the same stuff I am.
It's a great point. That seems like good spot to get out of here. Offensive line story of the week.
Yeah, man.
We now send it to our channel seedsman of the week, Dustin Fouch. Okay, we now welcome into the Channel Seed studio, not really in a studio. We got Dustin Fouch out, boots on the ground in the field today.
How you doing?
The Cyclone Sunday presented by Color Manufacturing from the Channel Seed Studios. Dustin, what do you think Iowa State yesterday?
Oh man, hey, this is the second time you've had me on. The first one was after the UNI game, so I'm 2-0 officially. So I'm ahead of all the rest of the channel guys doing this.
No big deal.
I'll kind of reiterate what I kind of said about that game, where I feel really good, and going into it, I kind of felt kind of nervous. We'd gotten better since the Ohio game. That was probably the low point of the season, and we looked okay against Oklahoma, probably about as good as anybody's going to look against Oklahoma this year, except Texas yesterday. But man, 7-7 right off the bat, and I thought it was just going to be a nail biter the rest of the way. And I was just telling you earlier, we were combining beans, and it was about halftime, and my daughter said, Dad, should we go over to the game? And I said, yeah, let's go. So we hopped in my truck and we headed over there, and we're in the end zone club, and we got over there mid-third quarter. But the whole way over there, that beginning of that third quarter was good. And Sama had that touchdown. And by the time we got to the stadium, I think we were ahead by 3 touchdowns. But I was definitely surprised with the performance yesterday.
So who stood out to you specifically?
The offensive line. The offensive line just keeps getting better. And, everybody was so down on him after that Ohio game. But it's amazing when the offensive line can do what it did yesterday, and even against Oklahoma State to a point. It opens up that running game, and then when you open up the running game, then you can open up the passing game, and then you can really start playing complementary football, and that's what this team's been missing all year. So the offensive line, and then Rocco just being so steady, no turnovers. He's done everything they've asked him to do. So offensive line, Rocco, and then of course, how many times do we get 4 interceptions in a game? That never happens, right? So
yeah,
you got to give it up to the defense. Really having a comeback game after a really a tough game against Oklahoma. I thought the defense, really hung in there. And that last touchdown at the end of the game, that one was just kind of in garbage time. So really just giving up a touchdown, I thought that was pretty good.
Iowa State had Cincinnati next week. How you feeling?
I don't know. I feel, the Cyclone homer me. I feel pretty good. I don't know how good Cincinnati is. I don't know if Cincinnati knows how good Cincinnati is. They've got so many transfers, in on that program. I don't know if they're a team that's quite gelled yet in the Big 12 now. I think they're kind of struggling a little bit, but they are coming off a bye week. So that'll be interesting to see how they react. But we probably couldn't be going into that game with any more momentum. I hate 11 a.m. road game kickoffs. That kind of gives you Ohio vibes. That's what that was. But this team's a lot better than the team that played Ohio, and they're really coming together really well. So I don't know. I like our chances. I'm sure we'll probably go in as a slight underdog, but I think we can go in there, and I think we can win that game.
All right, Dustin, thank you for your time.
Yep.
I'll let you get right back to it. Busy time of the year. Appreciate it. This has been Cyclone Sundays presented by Color Manufacturing from the Channel Seed Studios. We'll see you next time.